So this is where we left in the last video. In the last video, we have successfully created our token and we are decoding the token. So if you haven't watched, I'll link in the I button in the description so you guys can follow. In this video, we're going to simply create the login functionality. Okay, so let's work on that. So let me give this command login, and we have to create the function. So login, it will take the request, response, and next. Okay, and we'll have to simply decode the data. Okay, so email and the password. So what I'm doing, I'm simply deconstructing because all the data we have in this request.body. Okay, and thanks to ECMA 6 we can simply deconstruct this. So we are deconstructing this email and password because when the user will hit the login route, okay, they will provide the email and password to log into the application, and all the data we have inside this body, and that's the data we are taking. Let's come down, and here we have to simply check for that, so whether the email or password exists or not. Okay, so let's do the check for that, email and password. If we don't have that, and we have to simply import this one, app error, because we have to throw error if we don't have that. Okay, so we have to require the error, global error model, and that's coming from our utils app error, and we have to simply throw the error so it can receive into a global error handler. Okay, new app error, and in that we'll say please provide your email and password. And the reason why we are saying email and password, not specific email or like password, because we don't want to give a chance to the hacker if someone's trying to use bootstrap attack. Okay, they're trying to add multiple password, multiple email to get access into the database. So we don't want to give them hit that only email is invalid, a password is invalid. Okay, so we should always send this message that email and password both is invalid. Okay, and now we have to simply create the token, because we have to send the token back so they can log into. Okay, so right now we just send a simple response. We'll say 200 for query, and we'll say status success, and we have to simply send the token. Okay, so that's the simple logic we have here. Hope things are making sense to all of you guys. And now I believe that things will look fine to all of you. So this is what we have now. We have to simply close this one, come back to the router, and we have to create the router for that. Okay, so because we have to create the login, simply replicate this one, because whether it's sign up or login, both going to follow the same post method. Okay, because the user will send data, we have to change the endpoints. Is going to be say login, and this will work fine. Okay, so this is the login route. Let's open the postman and simply copy this entire, open a new tab and simply paste here, and we have to simply come here and we have to call this post methods, change the endpoint to login, and go to the body raw JSON, and here we have to pass the data of the user. Okay, so let's come here and we have to simply pass the, let's say, name, email, and the email what we have provided. Let's come back to the database and let's simply grab the email from here. Okay, let's grab the entire email and let's try to paste it. Email, save it. Okay, I have to, let's say, I forgot to let's rename this because I don't want to write over and over again. So let's say user login. So it's a user login. Now let's come back to the body, and if I make a request, you will see I got this error. It says that please provide your email and password. Okay, you can see the error we have defined is working fine. Okay, the error we have sent here, so where it is, so here we are sending this error, that's working fine because we don't have the password. Hope this makes sense to all of you guys. And now if we come here and if we provide the password, so we'll say password, and what the password we have given, we'll say password is going to be, let's say, pass 1234. Okay, this is the password we have provided. Okay, if I remove the email, you will see I'll get the error message. Okay, so this is the error message we'll get, that provide email or password. Okay, so let's bring that back and let's try to make a request. Okay, so you can see this is the success method we get, it's 200, and we have the blank token because we haven't created the token. Okay, that looks pretty fine. Okay, that makes sense. This is just the beginning. We have to do a lot of things. Okay, we have to do a lot of things, so just follow along with me step by step. So things are looking fine to me. Now let's come here. So this first check is working fine on the login, and we have to simply return because I don't want that the code execute further. Okay, we want to simply come out from this function. Okay, we have to end the process, so simply return this one. Okay, that's the change. If you hit the request, you can see everything is working fine. We have the email and we have the password. Let's come here, and now go back to simple user, and here we have this token. Okay, you can see this is the encrypted password we have, and this is the data we have. Now how can we simply compare? Okay, because the password we have stored into our database, we have stored in form of encryption. So how we can simply compare the encrypted password with the normal password which user are providing? And the best place to do that is the user model. Okay, because here we are encrypting the password, and this is the place where we can simply do that. Okay, so here we are in the user model, and you can see we have the password here, and here we're going to simply say for select, because I don't want to show the password when the user get created. Okay, if I select this, select false, because when someone will hit the route get all user, so we don't want to display the passwords of encrypted password of the user. Okay, so let's hide it for that. Okay, so let's hide this one. And now what we can do, if we make a request, you can see we'll get the password here still, because we are creating the password, but we have a route for getting all the user. Okay, so there we have to hide it, and that's where we are doing it. So to check that, what we can do, so to do that we can do it very easily. So this is what we are hiding, simply the password from all user route. So we can click here, and we can go to this where we have that, where here we have the all the routers. Okay, NFT controllers we have. You can see we have built all these functions. So simply grab this function, this code, because this is the same thing we have to do in the user controller. Okay, so here we have the user controller, and here you can see we have all these functions. Okay, get single user, update user, delete user, and get all users. Okay, with this function we'll get all the user who created their account on our NFT marketplace. Okay, so here we go to simply what we can do, simply remove this portion, and we can simply paste here. Okay, and we have to do a couple of changes. So first thing we have to do is we have to simply come here, and we have to get couple of things. Let's come here, and we can go to the NFT controller, and we have to import couple of things from here. So simply grab all this one. Okay, because we need these data, and that's all we're going to paste above here. And here we're going to change it. Okay, so right now we're not going to use this NFT, we're going to use the user model. Okay, so let's simply replace this one to, let's say, user, and this one is small, and we don't need this API filter, because we are not going to filter that. We need this async function. Simply call this one async, because it's async functions, so we have to handle the error in that. So we're going to simply wrap it, and we have to change the method. So we'll this use find. Okay, so this will give us the list of all the user. Okay, so that's why we are calling the find method. I hope you guys haven't forgot this after the long break. So this will give the list of the user, and here we have to do the changes. Instead of NFT we can call it users. Okay, so this will give us the list of all the users who have registered in our API. And actually we don't need this one. Okay, let's come here, and we have to come here, and here you can see here we have that get all user, which we are doing on the user resource. So that looks pretty fine. Now come back to the postman, and simply come here, copy this one, and open a new tab. Simply hit here, and we can simply remove it. Okay, we'll say get all user, and this is gonna be a get method. Save it, and we'll say get all user. Save it, and hit a request. Okay, I made a request, internal server error, so I made some mistake. Okay, my bad. Simply remove it, because we have to make the, this is not our endpoint. Okay, so if you come here, you can see this is the function name. Okay, but we are doing the request on the user resource. Okay, in the main directory. So we have to simply remove this one, remove this. Okay, because this is the endpoint, user resource endpoint, and on that we are calling the function. Hit request, and boom, here you can see right now we have 3 user, and we have not displaying the password. Okay, so it's hidden. You can see we have the ID, we have the name, and the email address. The password is hidden. Okay, so that looks pretty fine. We can easily able to query. So hope this makes sense to you, all of you guys. Because of this select false, we are not displaying the password on the output. Okay, so that looks pretty good to all of you. Hope things are making sense. But here you can see when the user are creating account, we can displaying the password, encrypted password. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Simply close this one, come here, and things are looking pretty good to me. So this is all we have to do here. Simply come here, close this one, and now let's come here and let me simply const user and await. We have to wrap this function into async function. Okay, we have to catch an error because we are dealing with the synchronous behavior, so we have to catch all the error. And here we're going to call this find one because we have to find the user on the base of the email. Okay, so if we provide the email, and here we have the email, so we can simply use the deconstructed method, and here we need actually the password. Okay, so you have noticed that we have simply hide that password, but here in the login page we need, so we can easily able to compare. Okay, so this is how we can do. We can say select and we have to pass it extensively. Okay, because we need this field. Okay, plus password, so this means we need this. Okay, provide us this one in the model. Okay, so that looks pretty fine. Hope this makes sense to all of you. Let me remind what we are doing here. So we are checking for the password and email. If they both exist, then we are making a query on the user model using this find one method, and we are doing this query on the base of the email. And because we have hidden the password in our main model, but here we need the password to do the comparison, so that's why we are calling this select, and we are defining the variable. So right now we need the password, so we have said password. Okay, so we have the password, and now we can simply able to compare it. Okay, so we'll say console user. Okay, so let me show you what data we get in return. So if we make a request, you can see this is what we have, and here you can see in the console log in the user we have this data. So we have the ID, we have the name of the user, we have the email, and we have the encrypted password. So we got the entire data back. Okay, this is the encrypted password we got. So if we paste here and if I call, you can see here we can simply pass the data here. Okay, so you can see the data in both way, whether in console or you can see right up here. Okay, let's bring it back to this, and that looks pretty fine to me. Now what we can do is let's come here, simply open up your terminal, and here let's make a request. You can see this is the request we are getting. We have the ID, name, and this encrypted password. Okay, simply copy that and paste here, because right now we have our original password is this pass1234. okay, this is the actual password and this is the encrypted password. So we have no way to go back from encrypted password to the normal password. You can go from normal password to encrypted password, but we can't go back. Okay, so again for this we're going to use the package we have used. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and the best place to do that is in the model. Okay, because where we are dealing with the password. Okay, so that's the comparison we have to do. Simply comment this and let's come back to the user model, because this is the best place where you can do the decrypt the password and compare it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here, and let me scroll down. So this is the encryptions. We have encrypted the password and we're going to create this instant method. Okay, and we're going to use this model to create an instant method, and in that we're going to take the data from the user and we're going to compare it. I believe that this makes abstract to all of you guys, but just follow along with me. So here we're going to use the schema and we're going to call this method. So this is the method we have, and in that we have to call this correct password, and here we're going to call this function correct password function, and in that we're going to receive two data. We're going to receive the candidate password and the user password. So these are the two passwords we're going to provide inside this function, and then we're going to make it work. Okay, so we'll say return bcrypt, and we have a function called compare on this bcrypt, and we have to compare the candidate password to the user password. Okay, and we have to simply say await because it will deal with the promises, and we have to say assign. Okay, so hope this makes sense to all of you guys. Let me repeat what we are doing. We are trying to create an instant method on our model, and our model will have an access of this instant method. Okay, so we can use wherever we want in our applications. So in this instant method we are taking the password, candidate actual password, and the user password who provided, and we are trying to compare it both with the compare function. Okay, so that's what we are doing, and that's the only thing we have to do, because this will return either true or false. Okay, if it's true, then we have successfully compared the password. If it's false, means the password is not matching. Okay, so that's what we have here. So this is the encrypted things looking pretty good to all of us. Now we have this method correct password. We are taking, let's bring it back, and they're comparing it. Now we're going to simply copy this function, entire function, and that's function we're going to use it. Okay, so let's come back to the user model, Okay, sorry, we have to go back to the auth. Okay, let's come to the authentication authentication, because here we are doing it. Okay, so right now we'll come here, we'll come back here, we'll take this if user, if we don't have the user. Okay, so because above we are checking for the user. Okay, so if someone provide the wrong email or wrong password, so we'll not get this. Okay, we'll not get the data. So if the user is not exist, else if wait, so this user has the insert method which we have created in our user model. Okay, so you can see we are calling the same function. In that function we're going to pass the data. Okay, so it's need the password, so we have the password, let's say password which the user is providing, which we are checking above. And the second thing we have is the password which is coming from the user. Okay, the encrypted password. Okay, so these are the two password we are passing into our correct password function. Okay, we are checking for these two things. Inside that we're going to simply return the next, and if provided password and the saved password in our database are not matching, so this will throw an error. If we throw an error, so we can throw the error into our global app error, and that's what we are doing here. We are simply returning and stopping the function incorrect, let's say incorrect email and password and 40401. Okay, hope these things are making sense to all of you guys. Let me remind what we are doing here. We have the access of this user model. Okay, in this we are checking that if user exists, and we are doing on the base of this find one, and that we are passing the email. Okay, so we are checking on the base of the email, if the email which user is providing, if it exists in our database, so on the base of that we are getting the user, and we are saying that if user exists, so that's the first check. In the second check we are doing that the password user have provided and the password we are getting from the database, we are trying to compare with the instant method which we have created in our user model. Okay, and that instant method is available in our user. Okay, because user is the model in which we have all the methods access. Okay, if this data is not correct, then we are throwing this error message. Okay, using our app error class. Hope things are making sense. Okay, that looks good, and this is how we are comparing. Let's come back here, and that's the data we are passing and simply doing the comparison here with the compare method. Okay, so this will work fine. Okay, now if the password and provide password and database password doesn't match, then this will throw an error. If it's matched, then we'll continue further. So now this looks good. We have this one. Now we have to generate the token. So here you can see that again, to log in the user we have to send the token back, because that's the token is a unique token for the user on the which we can do the login and logout. Okay, so here we have already generated a token, but why should we write the same token over and over again? Okay, so it's better to convert this token into a reusable function. So this is the token we have. Let's come here and let's create a reusable function so we can use it. So we'll say create token, and we'll say sign token and ID, because we have to provide the ID, because every user will have a unique ID, and that ID we're going to provide into our payload. Okay, and we're going to simply return this one, and we're going to simply cut this and paste here. Okay, so that's the sign in token, and simply come here, and this is what we have here. We're going to simply remove this, we're going to call the function, and we're going to provide the ID, and this ID we have access in this new user dot ID. Okay, I hope this makes sense to all of you guys. Now that's what we are receiving here, and we can simply remove this ID, and because of this D constructor we can simply type ID. Okay, this makes sense. Okay, so that's the function we have here, that's what we are calling here. And the same thing we have to do, copy and paste here as well, because when user will log in, then we have to send back the token. Okay, and that we have to provide the ID. Okay, and that ID we have access in this user ID. So this is how it will look. You can see, let's come here and let's try to simply delete this existing database, because now we're going to create the actual user with the payload. Okay, sorry, token. Okay, so now here we are in sign up, click on this. Here we are in get all user. If you make a request right now, you can see, okay, we got one. Okay, let's come back to the database and refresh. Okay, we have one, so let's simply delete this one, and let's come back here, make a request. Right now we have no user in our API. Let's come back to the user sign up, and this is the predefined data. I want to simply type the real email address $0092, sorry 92. Okay, so let's create a user for this. and hit a request, and here you can see we got the user. So it's success, we got the token, and we get all the data. We have the user ID, name, email, and password. So looking fine so far. Now let's try to get login. Okay, so for login we need to have the email address and the password. Okay, so simply copy this email, come back to the user login, and here we have to provide the email. Okay, so this is the email we have provided, and the password is same. Okay, so we're going to simply log it. Okay, so right now you can see I have provided the wrong password. Okay, pass 1 2 3, but it's actually 1 2 3 4. Okay, but it will throw an error. If I make a request, you can see here we got a validation error, says incorrect email and password. Okay, so you can see the validation is working fine. We can easily able to use that big crypt functionality to compare the password which user are providing and the database, the scripted password we have stored in the database. Okay, and we are comparing that. So hope this makes sense to all of you guys. Now if I provide the right password and provide the wrong email, I'll still get an error. You can see I got the email error, but if I provide the right email address, right password, I'll get the token back. Okay, so here you can see we got our JWP token back. Okay, and this is unique in that we have a lot of data. Okay, so hope this makes sense to all of you. Simply grab that one, and we have simply log into our application. Okay, with this user is log into our application. Okay, user is logged in our application. If you refresh, you will have a user, and we are not storing that token into our database. Okay, because that token will get generated on the base of the request when the user will make. Okay, so that's the one we have here. Now let's come back here. So that's looking fine. Okay, we are successfully generating the token and sending back to the user. So hope this makes sense to all of you. Now let's see, let's close this one, close this one. So we are done with this. Sign up, sign in. Whatever we have covered so far, that makes sense to all of you guys. Try to pause the video and try to understand that how we are passing, how we are comparing, because this concept is really very advanced. Because when I was learning, I was stuck a lot, and it was confusing for me to understand the entire, like saving the scripted password and getting the password and getting compared. That was a confusing part. I do believe that you will have the same kind of doubt. Just try to pause the video or rewatch the video and try to understand what's going on behind the scene and how we are comparing. Okay, so that's the only thing I want to cover in this video. In the next video, we're going to create one more function into our API which will keep the track of the user login, whether they are logged into the application or not, and on the base of the login or logout, we're going to display their data. Okay, so if they are not logged in, we're not going to display the data, but if you are logged in, we'll display the data. Okay, so that's the functionality we're going to build in the next video. So let's move to that.